Hi there, this is Greg, and today we are talking about how to send passwords electronically safely. So, now it's honesty time here. It's just you and me. We're being honest. Every once in a while, the need arises to send someone else our account information, username and password for something. Now, I'm not specifically saying that every time I change my Netflix password, I get a phone call from some of my kids. I'm not saying that, but that would be a hypothetical example of what I could be talking about here. So let's start with the question. Is there any problem with just simply texting someone, yeah, here's my Netflix, username and password and, have fun? Is that a problem? And the answer is yes, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. We don't want to give the bad guys any of our account information. We don't want to give them access to anything. And we've talked about this before. There are no unimportant accounts. Right? There's nothing that is so trivial that we don't mind if the bad guys gain access to it on our behalf, right? We don't need them to know anything more about us than is absolutely necessary. And so it's important to us that we don't let them know what our Netflix account is, or for sure not any other things like banking or e-commerce or things like that. What we never do is send in a single message by any electronic means our username, our password, and the third piece of information is what the account is. So again, with our kind of hypothetical example, hey, it's my Netflix account, and here's my username, and here's my password. Please promise me from now on, never, ever will you send those three pieces of information or any two of them together in a message together, right? Because we have to assume, no matter what the message protocol is, the mechanisms that we're using, whether it's texting or email or some messenger app or whatever, we have to assume that at some point that message is going to be readable by somebody else. There are a few exceptions, but they're so few that it's just a lousy habit to get into. And so we just need to be in the habit of not doing it at all, right? So let's talk about the first ones. What about Gmail or Hotmail or Outlook? Those big email providers. And the answer is they're encrypted within their domain, but not when you cross outside of their domain. And so if I'm sending it from me to someone else, I don't know what that someone else uses. I might not know. And so I have to assume that it'll probably become unencrypted when it gets to them. How about text messaging? That's the worst, right? If you're going between iPhone and iPhone, those are encrypted. But if you're going from iPhone to something else, Android or whatever, then it's no longer, no longer encrypted. And if you're going from Android to Android, at the moment, those are also not encrypted. They're starting to come along with some of that, but at the moment, it still is not completely encrypted the whole from end to end on the message's little journey. And what about the other messaging apps? There's one little piece of good news, and the rest of it is pretty much bad news. The app that is called WhatsApp, which is actually owned by Facebook, but that is encrypted end to end. So, okay. But again, I'm going to urge you not to send not to send these three pieces of information together, even if it's encrypted. It's just not a good idea. The other apps, though, the common ones, Facebook Messenger, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, those ones all have direct message capability, and none of those are encrypted. None of them. So just don't do it. Technically, Facebook Messenger has a secret conversation option that you can select, but it is not selected. It's not enabled by default. And again, I just don't do it. Okay, so that's a lot of what not to do. What do you do? Well, I'm old school, and so my favorite method of all, I pick up the phone and I talk to them and I say, hey, let me give you the stuff. Here's my username, here's my password, read it back to me, make sure you got it, and then you're done. Now, obviously, that's not always an acceptable approach. If I'm sitting at work and I've got people on either side of me, I don't need them, sitting there kind of going, ooh, here's Greg's bank information, and writing down everything that I say. Or if I'm on the bus, or if I'm somewhere, public. So, all right, sometimes that's not an option. So then the strategy beyond that then is to basically take those three pieces of information, what the account is, the username, and the password, and split those up. And so maybe what you can do is over the phone, you're talking to the person and you say, all right, so it's my normal, my username is my email address, right? Yeah, okay. And you probably already know what type of account you're talking about. And then you can say, all right, I'm going to text you my password, and it's just the password, and that's it. And so all that you would text is, now I'm going to pause for a second and say, I hope you're using strong passwords, right? This should be a password that is used for one account only and is unrecognizably strong. It's just gibberish characters. If you haven't watched the video on strong passwords, watch that after this. I hope you're not sharing passwords between accounts or anything else like that. And I hope that none of your passwords have recognizable information like, your mother's maiden name or anything. So all you would be texting then is just, some number of characters that are complete gibberish and not identifiable as anything in particular. And by the way, say hi to my coworker, Mr. Butters. Okay, say bye to Mr. Butters. When you text that, don't text any description or explanation in any other message, not before it or after it. No, don't send the password and then in the next message say, hey, did you get my bank password? Because now you've kind of defeated the whole purpose. So just send just that, or email it. But basically, it's the same idea. Is you're sending just a piece of the information all by itself with no descriptive information whatsoever, and that is reasonably safe, right? There is another method which is actually kind of interesting. It's maybe it's a little bit, I would say it's a notch up from there. What you can do is take a little scrap of paper, write down the password, take a photo of the password, and then text the photo to whoever, because it's harder. The hackers, they can intercept the photo, but they can't automatically turn that into text, right? I mean, I guess governments could, but they don't care about your Netflix password. So it's an interesting way to do it, and it adds a little extra layer of protection, simply because it's not some machine-readable, recognizable string of characters that they're going to start trying against some of your accounts. So another way that I've done it, which actually causes more mayhem and confusion, is to take and split it up and email half of it and text the other half of it. Usually that results in a phone call that I'll get later saying, what is this that you sent me? I don't even know what this is. You can do it. It's kind of fun, but it's not always that practical. So anyways, those are the ways that I would do. So again, do we email or text our three pieces of information together? No, I hope we don't. No, we don't. So what do? Well, Greg's favorite option, pick up the phone or send just isolated bits of information with no descriptive information over some of the other means. And that's about it. So hope that was helpful to you. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you do have any questions, put them in the comments, and I'll get to those as soon as I can. Thank you very much. See you soon.